Hi everyone, welcome back to Harvest Hill Cottage. I'm Renee, and today we have 3 spring-inspired thrift flips for you. Let's jump right in to the first project. Here is an old wood box with a drawer that I picked up at an estate sale for $3, and it just needs some TLC. So I gave it a good cleaning, and then I sanded with the grain just to scuff it up a little bit, give it some teeth for the paint to hold on to. Then I just gave it a couple of coats of paint using Fusion Mineral Paint's French Eggshell. Then just to age it up a little bit, I used a softer white and just did a dry brushing, a light dry brushing in a crosshatch pattern. Just make sure your brush is pretty dry, just a little bit of paint left on there, and you just kind of skim the surface with a back and forth motion, and it just gives the appearance of a worn, aged look about your paint. Really like this look, and it's an easy technique. This project was really just a good excuse for me to use the brand new transfer from Iron Orchid called Ephemeral Melange. It is 8 pages of gorgeous, vibrant, French-inspired labels that you can apply to your projects. And there are several to choose from, so this transfer goes a really long way. I'm really digging it, and I'm going to use it on this box. A decorative transfer is a really easy, a fun way to add a little bit of color, a little interest to your project. And so I'm just going to use bits of this melange transfer to just add some color and some interest to my project. And I'm going to put some of those smaller labels on the sides of the box, and then I'm going to put this larger floral right on the top. And the transfer comes with a plastic applicator stick that you just use to rub the transfer right onto your project. Really simple process. Isn't that gorgeous? So once you get your transfer on, use the plastic just to kind of gently rub over your image, and that just helps to ensure that every little bit of that image has adhered nicely to your painted surface. Then I just cut apart some of those smaller labels, and I'm going to transfer them to the sides of the boxes. I used a bit of chalk to mark the corners and edges of that transfer so that I would know exactly where to place the image once I peel the backing off. And that's just a little trick that I use sometimes when I'm trying to center something in a particular spot. And then the chalk, just wipes right off when you're done. The Iron Orchid Designs transfers are distressable, so I did use a little bit of sandpaper to very lightly distress the images just to help it look a little bit aged and worn. Once you get your transfers on your piece, you do want to seal them with a water-based sealer just to ensure there's no scratching or peeling off. The transfers are pretty durable, but this just adds kind of a layer of insurance on top of your pieces. So I like to use the Fusion's Tough Coat. It's very durable, water-based, so it won't yellow your piece or your images. And I just put 2 coats of that sealer on my piece, and there you have it. My husband John and I are resellers. We love to upcycle and repurpose old vintage pieces, and we sell them in our retail spaces in the Lazy Daisy in Fredericksburg, as well as Unique Antiques in King George, Virginia. This is a piece that we redid a while ago, and the piece never sold. It's a vintage breakfast tray, and so sometimes as resellers, a piece doesn't work and you just have to reimagine it. So I'm going to give this another coat of paint, and I'm going to use some of those transfers from the Ephemeral Melange transfer pack and just give this a facelift, and we will put it back in our shop and give it a second go with its new fresh look. And finally, I have this little collection of ceramic containers. They were actually given to me by a neighbor, so they didn't cost me anything. I think these boots may have come from the Target dollar spot, but we're going to give them a new look. So I'm going to use some decorative molds. These are silicone molds from Orchid Designs, and normally I would use air dry clay, but I could not get to my clay very easily today, so I decided to use hot glue, which you can do. Just pop the hot glue right in there, and 3 to 5 minutes, it's dry. You can peel it right out. This is a bunny that is part of the Fleur silicone mold, and once you pop out the hot glue, it is somewhat pliable, so you can adhere it to your surface, and it is paintable, so it works really well in a pinch. So I put the bunny with some Gorilla Glue onto the flower vase, and just give it some time to dry and set up, and then you can get to town painting, which is exactly what I did. I cast a couple of bumblebees using another mold from IOD. This comes from the Laurel mold, and just used a bit of painter's tape to adhere the bee onto that curved edge of the boot. Then once it's set up, I got to painting. I added some texturizing powder to my paint because I'm going for an old world pottery look on these pieces. So texturizing powder in the paint just thickens and adds texture to your paint. So it has more of a kind of stony pottery look about it. This is what the first coat looks like on the boot. I use the color Cobblestone from Fusion. And for a vintage look, I'm just going to dab and sort of slap the paint on here because I don't want a nice even painted surface. I want it to have chunkiness and texture, and so I'm not going to think too much about it. I'm just going to slap it on and get the first coat on there, and then we're actually going to build and layer several different coats and colors of paint just to give that old world look to our piece. Now, once I got the first coat on, I went on to layer second and third coats, as you see here on the boot. I blended the color Cobblestone with the color Putty. And I added more texturizing powder so that I would have another thick layer to the piece. And again, just slapped and dabbed it right on. And then once I got that on, I did a third coat in just the color Putty. So dabbing, swirling, and then I even took a rag and sort of blotted some of it back because I wanted all of the colors to show through so that it would have that old world sort of worn look about it. And yeah, I just kept on with the layering until I got the look that I was happy with. All of these colors are Fusion Mineral Paint, which is our paint of choice. We are retailers. You can find Fusion in our retail spaces here in Fredericksburg and King George, as well as on our website at harvesthillcottage.com. If you do not have a local stockist, we would be happy to help you via our website. Then once I got the paint layered the way I wanted it, I decided to do a wash just to add more interest and old world look to the piece. This is the color Algonquin. It is a 50-50 water to Algonquin or to paint blend. And a wash is simply brushing on and then wiping back. And again, a wash just helps to age up your piece, bring some vintage goodness to something that may not be vintage. And then I just wiped it back, dabbed it, kind of played around with that wash until I liked the look. And then last but not least, I wanted to age it up even more. So this is a glaze. It is the color chocolate that has been added to Fusion's clear glaze. And the glaze is really an awesome product because it has a long open time, meaning you can work with it for quite a while before it dries and cures. It really glides onto your piece nicely, and then you can wipe it back and kind of mess around with it for a while. So I just used my rag to kind of wipe and blot until I liked the way that it looked. And the clear glaze is pretty cool because you can add any color to it that you want. So here I added chocolate just to have that old antique look. And again, because the glaze doesn't dry quickly, you can get in there and really work with it. And so I just sort of pushed it around, blotting and rubbing and dabbing until I liked the finish that I got. All of the products you see here can be found on our website or in our retail spaces. I will list below all of the products used for your reference in the description box below. Now, once the containers were dry and cured, I went ahead and added some spring greenery just to complete the look. And there you have it, some really beautiful spring decor made from free donated junk. Let me know in the comments below what you think of today's projects. I'd love to know which one is your favorite. And I want you to know we appreciate you. Thank you for watching, and please consider subscribing so that you can hang out with us again. Thanks so much, and God bless.